Welcome to the Broncos podcast with Adam Ramirez and Sean Flanagan.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Broncos podcast. This is episode 20. Is that right, Sean? Yeah, I don't know either. We need to start counting that. I am your host, Adam, at Adam Knows Ball. This is Sean, the other Bronc bro. Yeah. We got to start keeping track. Thank you for tuning in. I know there's a ton of good Broncos content out there, so we appreciate you guys listening to us. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at BroncBros_ as part of 5280 and 5280 Media. And make sure to follow me at Adam Knows Ball _. Follow us on YouTube. Click like and subscribe. Tell a friend. Tell 20. Thanks for joining us. Sean, the Broncos are the number one seed. As of the last time we spoke, they were not the number one seed yet. So how are we feeling about that before we talk about the opponents that the Broncos may face?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of feels like a little bit of "I told you so" from the first episode of this season. I think you and I were, we called the division win from the get-go. The wins we were kind of on. The one seed was, I think, maybe a little more than what I expected. I thought, obviously, you and I both thought it was going to be the Ravens, and we all saw how that all fell apart. But yeah, man, I mean, how could you not feel as high as you possibly could coming off the end of the regular season and being the one seed? So super cool, man. And it's been a long time coming. We've been waiting for this since Peyton left. So Manning. One of these other Peytons that's around all the damn time. But yeah, man, it's good. It's really good to be a Broncos fan. Obviously, I'm here in Texas, so I wear my stuff proudly around town and point and laugh at others.
Good stuff. Sean is dealing with a storm because he does live in Texas, so we're trying to get this thing in. And if we can't get a full recording in, it's because Sean's house is about to blow away. So hopefully, Sean, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, if you see flashes of light, it's not because I don't know, man. It's the lightning's going crazy right now.
It's not a strobe party at Sean's house. It's a lightning party, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And you have a tournament in the morning, you said.
Yeah, my son has both of them have 7-on-7 tournaments, so I got to be up in like 6 hours.
That's going to be football weather, Texas style, for sure. Good stuff.
Yeah, it'll be humid, I can tell you that.
Yes, sir. So, Sean, before we get into the playoff rankings for the Broncos opponents, were you able to – I know you had some stuff going on for the Charger game. Were you able to watch the tape on that one? And if you were, did you have any thoughts?
I mean, for me, man, I don't put much stock in it just because we knew the backups were going to go from the get-go. You knew it was going to be pretty vanilla. I know when I was out and about doing my stuff, you weren't super happy with the play-by-play and how it was going. But
no,
I think it's just one of those things where you don't want to show a lot. And to your point, and what you've said numerous times is you could see this team a third time. So, I think that there's an element of that. And, I say it all the time. The Chargers are going to Charger. I don't think that they're as good as a lot of people think that they are. I think they limped into the playoffs. So I don't really care about that game, to be honest with you. We took care of business. We got the one seed. That's exactly what we were supposed to do. Didn't have to look pretty, but I think, a lot of these wins this year didn't necessarily look pretty. So, I'm not going to put too much into us playing the backups.
Fair enough. Our offensive line got whooped in that game by some backups, and the red zone offense was not good. And it hasn't been good for a while. So specifically against the Chiefs and the Chargers, they've got to clean that stuff up. You cannot settle for 3 points against Buffalo, Jacksonville, whoever. The Texans, you could probably get away with it because they're probably not going to score that much on us either. The Jaguars, no way. Patriots, maybe. because Drake May hasn't seen this beast. You know what I mean? But we also haven't seen that beast, Drake May.
Yep.
And who am I forgetting? Oh, the Chargers. Yeah, you can't settle for 3 against the Chargers either. I know you're not a believer in the Chargers, man, but I'll tell you what. The Broncos haven't beaten the Chargers with Harbaugh there as the head coach yet. Not in a game where both the starters or all the starters were playing. So that's something to consider. They have a really good defense. They have an opportunistic defense. I do think that they're going to beat the Patriots and we are going to play them. I really do. I think that they're physical. And that whole Tony Jefferson comment, did you hear about that from the Chargers?
Caught
him on video. Yeah, okay. So I think it's just destined to happen where the Broncos play the Chargers and then the Broncos play the Jaguars, and that's your revenge tour, if you will, for this year. They can also include the Bills in that revenge tour, but I would rather not see them. So speaking of, Sean, let's get into it. If you had to rank the Broncos' opponents from 1 to 4, 1 being the one you definitely do want to see, to 4 being the one you don't want to see, we've got the Steelers, the Texans, the Jags, and the Chargers. Put them in order. What do you got? And give me some reasons why.
Well, I mean, it's never going to happen, but number 1 would be the Steelers. I don't see them getting through Houston at all. They have no business being in the playoffs. They're just one of those teams that they just get in because somebody from that division has to get in. Strangely, it's what we thought would be arguably the best division, potentially, and out of all of them. But the Steelers, there's nothing about that team. You have Pat Surtain against DK Metcalf, and then what else do they do? And the answer is absolutely nothing. So if that would be the team that I would like to see the most, but they're going to lose in the first round. I don't even know if they'll be favored at home, to be completely honest with you. I would assume that they'll be dogs at home. But if teams that matter, if you started ranking them from there, I would say, for me, I'm the complete opposite as you. I would go with the Chargers. The Chargers don't scare me. They can't get out of their own way. And that's just how they've always been. And I know you jokingly said this isn't your grandfather's or your father's Chargers, but they're just always the Chargers. They'll always be from San Diego. They'll always have played at Qualcomm. It'll always be a Broncos home game. They're a joke. And when you said Tony Jefferson, that's why I said who, because I don't know who the hell that is, and it doesn't matter. So that's who I would want to see there.
All right.
I think I would go Jacksonville from there. I think that was kind of a fluke. I think we can match up better against them. I know we lost, but we were on a super long win streak. I think that's the game that I want to see next.
I'm just talking about the divisional round for now, so we don't go through all the teams. So this is Texans, Steelers, Chargers,
or Buffalo
Bills. Yeah.
Okay. So I guess it would be Texans. We've seen them before. But the team that I would want to see the least is Buffalo. Yep. I just think it's one of those things where you don't have all the other guys that everybody likes to talk about. Josh Allen could have one of those years, like any of those guys that just go, you get that one run, that one magical run, your Joe Flacco's, your Trent Dilfers, your Kevin Durant's when he was at Texas,
OKC.
Yeah, Carmelo Anthony when he was at Syracuse, where you're like, there's no way these teams are going to win it, and then they just run. So those, yeah, just kind of in general, those teams that just stick out to me. But I don't want to see Buffalo. I don't want to see Josh Allen. I don't want to deal with the potential zebras deciding anything in those games for somebody like Josh Allen, who's an NFL favorite. I don't want any part of it. And I always, I am somebody that thinks that Buffalo is a great team. I don't think they had a great season, but I do not want to see them for any reason.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you make some excellent points, and I don't disagree with you on the first team. I think the number 1 team that everybody in Denver wants to see is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I actually think they're going to beat the Texans, and here's why. Yes, their defense is good, but do you really trust CJ Stroud to win a playoff game against Aaron Rodgers. Like, they have the edge. The Steelers have the edge in playoff experience, quarterback experience, all that stuff. I think everyone's a little too high on the Texans, they are a very good football team, don't get me wrong. But I don't think the Steelers are like this no chance team that everybody keeps saying that they are. I think that when they turn on the offense, they can turn it on like they did against the Ravens. And I'm not saying they're going to go out and put 30 on Houston or anything like that. But when you talk about this particular matchup, Houston and Pittsburgh, Aaron Rodgers is going to get the ball out quick. He gets the ball out to his running backs. That's what he does. I think that kind of negates the Houston pass rush a little bit if they can keep themselves out of 3rd and long. If they get into 3rd and long, they're going to be in trouble big time. But I don't know, man. I could see the Steelers winning that game, but we'll talk more about that later. So the Steelers are my number 1 team. My number 2 team would be the Texans. I think their defense is awesome, but we also saw Bo Nix go down in the last 2 minutes against that defense and do what he needed to do to win a game, And granted, C.J. Stroud was out of that game, but Bo Nix still did what he was supposed to do at the end, and that was to drive the Broncos down the field and kick a field goal to win the game. And then he did that, and that was on the road. So I think if you can somehow put, 20 to 23 points on Houston, you're probably going to win if you're the Broncos. And I think that's what would happen if the Broncos played maybe like a 23-16 kind of game between the Broncos and the Texans. But I don't fear their offense at all. I think what they would end up doing when they come into Denver is try to take shots down the field like they did against the Chargers, but they wouldn't be successful. I know that the Broncos can be had in certain other areas, like at tight end, running back in the flat. They can be. I think a lot of teams do like to test them over the top, but I just don't think that the Houston offense has what it takes to do that to the Broncos. My number 3 team would be the Chargers. We highly, highly disagree on this because I watched some of their backups just absolutely whoop the Broncos offensive line during that game. And I think that Oronde Gadsden is a problem for the Broncos. He was this year. He will be again. Keenan Allen, he just finds ways to get open, and I think he's a problem. And Justin Herbert is one of those quarterbacks that spreads the ball around. He will just throw it to whoever. McConkey, Johnson, Gadsden, any of the running backs. I think Will Dissly's on that team too as a backup tight end. Like, he just throws it to whoever, right? So that's the way that you attack the Broncos offense is you say, okay, Patrick Surtain's kind of canceled out because we're just going to throw it to whoever's open. It doesn't matter that he can shut down the number 1 receiver because we don't really have one. And I think that's the case for the Chargers. They don't really have a number 1 receiver. I think people will argue that, Johnston, not Johnson. Johnston is a number 1, but I still am not a believer in that. But I do think that defense that the Chargers boast is absolutely for real, and they are a problem, especially for the Broncos. And then number 4 is the Buffalo Bills. 3 tight ends that Josh Allen can just use at any time. The number 1 running game in the National Football League. The number 1 passing defense in the National Football League. The Bills are just not a good matchup for the Broncos, unfortunately. And like you said, I think the NFL is going to favor Josh Allen because he hasn't gotten there yet. And I think there was a certain charm to that back in the 90s, like when Elway hadn't won one yet, but we didn't get any special treatment from the referees in that game. You know what I mean? John Elway earned his way to that first championship. There was none of this NFL in bed with Vegas stuff and, the refs being a big part of those games. At least I don't remember that. I was only 10 or 11 years old, but I don't remember that being part of the NFL until pretty recently. And so I think that the Broncos want to do their best to avoid something. If you touch Josh Allen at all, it's a penalty. So, and I know that Zach Allen has gotten away with a few of those pretty questionable late hits on quarterbacks this year. He would not get away with them against the Bills. Josh Allen likes to cry for flags on every single play, which is why I do not like him at all. I mean, how many times do you see Bo Nix cry for a flag, dude? I mean, I hardly ever see it. Maybe I'm just being a homer, but I don't see him do that.
I mean, it helps that he's like the least sacked quarterback in the NFL. So, I mean, he probably doesn't have a
Well, I mean,
lot
but
of
when he
those gripes,
when he
but
throws the ball too, and like he wants pass interference, you know how quarterbacks do that? They want
sure.
pass interference, and he doesn't do that. Now that I'm thinking about it and comparing him to Josh Allen, but I think the Broncos, if they, and we'll get into this, if they do play Buffalo, you are going to have to want to run the football against the Buffalo Bills because that's where you can attack them. You got to get 3 tight ends out there, 2 tight ends out there, and just run the ball right down their throats. That's what you have to do against the Buffalo Bills because they're not good at that. They are good at stopping the pass, which is why they are a really bad matchup for the Broncos because Sean Payton, and we'll get more into Sean Payton and my concerns about him next week before we play our first playoff game this year. But I just don't think Sean Payton's going to say, all right, this is the matchup. This is what we're supposed to do, and we're going to do it that way. I also don't trust him to play Jaleel McLaughlin over RJ Harvey when McLaughlin clearly is the better runner this year. I think RJ Harvey is averaging 3.4 yards per carry, and Jaleel's averaging 5.5. So I think if you take ego out of the equation when it comes to Sean Payton and you just look at the numbers, you would say, okay, Jaleel McLaughlin's got to be the guy we ride, at least in this first game, because we might get JK back in the championship, right? Which would be awesome. That would be incredible. I think the Broncos, whoever they play in the championship, if they go into that game healthy with J.K. Dobbins and Brandon Jones, nobody's beating the Broncos that day. I don't see that happening, especially the Jaguars again. Nah. So I think the biggest challenge, honestly, is going to be the first game for the Broncos. I really do. And then once they can get past that, they get a little bit more healthy. I think they're going to the Super Bowl. Jacksonville we'll talk about. New England we'll talk about. With all due respect to those teams, I just think Denver would beat both of them. But we'll see, right? We got to get past the first game anyway. So, Sean, any final thoughts on what I just said? I know we disagreed on Pittsburgh and the Chargers a little bit, but anything to add on that part?
No, I mean, I think your points are valid with Jaleel, and I think a little bit of it is maybe a smaller sample size. And RJ is just he's such a weapon in the receiving game too, and you know he's gotten so many touchdowns and stuff on both methods, but both running and receiving. So obviously wanting to keep him involved, and just get into that championship game when we can hopefully get some of these bodies back and some of the guys that we've been used to winning all these games with when we were on a streak. But no, I completely agree. And obviously we're on the same page with Buffalo, and you know, Buffalo being there means what Jacksonville is not, you know, so that takes, you know, one of those teams out of our, you know, potential teams to play. So, you know, it's I just don't want to see him. And I think you made great points. I don't want to see Cook, Josh Allen. If we get them manned up and he's in space, he can hurt you with his legs. And that's one of those things where that would be my greatest concern from a defensive perspective, because you're right. We're going to play those tight ends. They're going to get Singleton and Greenlaw spaced out. They're going to be one-on-one, and Josh Allen's going to leak out for some 40-yard run or some crap. So that's my biggest concern, to be completely honest with you, when it comes to their offense.
Or like teams have been doing, they're just simply going to attack Alex Singleton wherever he is, whether it's zone, man, whatever, because he cannot cover. He is a liability for the Broncos on defense, unfortunately. And that is something that I just am not interested in seeing this year. Do I think the Broncos could beat the Bills? Yeah. I think that last year's game was a great learning opportunity for this year. Sean Payton talked a lot about how they wanted to play these games at home. That's what he was thinking about. He said that today in his press conference, where he was thinking about that last year while they were playing in Buffalo. And so now they're going to have Buffalo here should that matchup materialize. And I think the Broncos learned a lot of things last year from Buffalo. Buffalo's no different. right? Brandon Cooks is a new receiver, and they don't have Hollins or whatever his name is. Hollins. Yeah. So like there's very few differences now between last year's team and this year's team with Buffalo. It's going to be the same thing, and they're going to run the ball. They're going to do what they did last year, except it's going to be harder because it's going to be on the road. Do I think the Broncos would win that game in a low-scoring affair? No. They would have to put up probably 30 points to beat Buffalo. I really think that. But if you take the Broncos defense versus the Buffalo defense and who can make one stop here or there, I'm taking the Broncos defense all day. The best red zone defense in the league, the best third down defense in the league, right? You got to like your chances, especially at home. I know Josh Allen's not going to be intimidated to come here. Like we've talked about this before because he played in Kansas City for a couple games. But I just think that the Broncos are going to have some sort of lane integrity if they play Buffalo, where they're caging the quarterback as they talk about, and do not let Josh Allen get loose.
Yep.
But the problem with that is then you're giving him way too much time to make a pass. So I don't know what the Broncos are going to do. I think they can beat any of these teams. I think they can lose to any of these teams, including Pittsburgh. I just, you never know. So we're going to find out. But speaking of the defense, Sean, VJ is getting a lot of attention, man. He is wanted for quite a few jobs. He's doing interviews. Luckily, they're Zoom interviews now because we don't have to worry about him traveling other places and stuff like that, which Sean Payton also talked about today. But how much of a distraction is this, Sean? And does this remind you at all of the 2013 Broncos when Jack Del Rio was just out the door already?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's parallels and there's very similar process. I know the NFL's changed it a little bit, and they've done some things there. But what I find funny is with the firing of coaches like Harbaugh and like Stefanski, a lot of the landscape has changed, and I still think VJ is going to get a job, but I also feel like if he doesn't, because of the other coaches that got fired, I won't be as surprised as I think I would have if you would have asked me this question 2 or 3 weeks ago. I think John Harbaugh is going to hold up the process because there's all these teams that want him and people aren't going to make commitments. So I think it actually might play out a little slower than maybe years past because of what John Harbaugh's demands are and how much all these teams want him. So, VJ is very deserving. I think with all these places that are open, I think he does ultimately get a job, but he's also had one before too, right? So he's been through this process. He's done this, I know one of the interviews is with Arizona, which he's already coached at, where he was the DC. So I don't think it's going to be a distraction, honestly, not for him at least. I know, obviously our quarterback's coach is getting some looks for some possible OC jobs and some other stuff as well. So I'm less worried about VJ than I am maybe about some of the other assistants in there, attention to detail or preparation. But no, man, like I said, I think if you would have asked me this 2 weeks ago, I would have had a totally different answer. But yeah, John Harbaugh just really shook up everything when it comes to the coaching carousel.
Yeah, Davis Webb, he probably goes with VJ, honestly, to New York or Arizona, which are the two places I think he'll end up, one or the other. Sean Payton is very high on him going to the Giants and being in that part of that organization. And I think that'd be a good job for Vance. They need leadership there. That's what they desperately need in a head coach. And if you bring Davis Webb as your offensive coordinator to work with Jackson Dart, I think that would be a really, really nice fit for everybody involved. And obviously we would wish the best for all three of those guys, or both of our guys, in that new situation. But we'll see where VJ goes. I think that him knowing the Cardinals organization and being pretty close or well thought of by the Cardinals owner is definitely something to consider. But as Sean Payton talked about today as well, it's like, do you really want to go to that place? Is that somewhere where you can thrive? Is that somewhere where you can win? It's not really, and he didn't say this exactly, but he talked about some jobs not being as desirable, right? There are opportunities to be a head coach, and then there's opportunities to be a head coach. And so I don't know. We'll see how that goes. I'm very interested to see where Harbaugh ends up. He could end up with the Raiders in our division. And then you've got Harbaugh, Peyton, and Reed in the same division. That would be nuts. I think Cleveland will probably be hot on his tail for sure. They should be. Did Cincinnati fire Zach Taylor? Dude. It's crazy. That's crazy.
I think Harbaugh's a shoe-in for New York. I think that they can offer him the most money.
You think so, huh?
I think, yeah. I would be shocked if he doesn't go to New York. I just think it's like, unless he doesn't like Jackson Dart, and that's not what he wants. But from everything that I read, that's like an ideal job for him. So, but again, you go to Vegas and you got the number 1 pick. If you like one of these guys, you like Mendoza, or you like I'm blanking on the kid from Oregon's last name, Dante
Moore.
You like one of these kids more than you like Jackson Dart, hell, you could pick him. It's your team. So I think he's a shoo-in for New York, to be honest with you. I honestly think VJ might go to Arizona. I think that's maybe his best bet. Maybe for us, the good thing is that a ton of these coordinators have gotten canned too. So if we lose VJ, there's going to be some talented people on the streets, and I think some of that is because of the other talent. Just a weird year, man, where I think people are firing decent coordinators because they want a different one or whatever. So, but that's kind of my take on it. So I VJ to Arizona is my thought. Maybe like a Baltimore, but I think they're going to go offensive this time around. So, but it could be Miami too, because I think they fired McDaniel with the hope that they could get Harbaugh, but I don't think that they're going to get him. So, that Miami job is going to be open. So we'll see, man. I wish him the best. I think he's gone for sure, but I know it was kind of a weird, like, do we want VJ back? He was our head coach and we fired him. And like, when you've got a good coach and you put him in the right situation, he's proof of what you can make of it. And I'm super happy that he had this run with us. And, I hope we can get him a ring before he goes on his way.
Amen, brother. I really hope the same thing. I'm hoping Jim Leonard doesn't get plucked by other teams, because I think he could step in maybe as the defensive coordinator next year if they were to lose Vance Joseph. But, oh, man, I don't know what the Broncos are going to do. It's not fun talking about this kind of stuff, knowing that it's going to happen and knowing that we have a chance to win the Super Bowl right now. Just thinking about the Broncos like changing defensive philosophies and not blitzing as much and not being able to get as much out of the pass rush, and keeps me up at night a little bit, but that's not for me to figure out. So the Broncos will figure it out in the end, but we'll see how it goes. For now, Sean, we have playoff games to talk about and worry about and be excited about. So for this wild card weekend, Sean, quickly, what's the one game that you want to watch in the NFC, and what's the one game that you want to watch in the AFC? The AFC is probably a little bit more tricky.
Yeah, honestly, in the NFC, I don't know that I want to watch it, but I'm interested to see if Philly is just going to turn it on and make another run, because they seem dead to rights in the middle of the season, and they're just one of those teams that's hot at the right time.
Yep, that's what they do.
They've been there, they've won it, and it's like, you get so high and you just hear Seattle and LA and you hear all this stuff. Hey, man, don't forget about the team who was just in the Super Bowl,
100%.
Just won a Super Bowl, has multiple Super Bowl wins. You can hate Sirianni and you can hate the Philly fans all you want, man, but they are there, and they have Saquon Barkley. They got 2 nasty receivers. You can say what you want about Jalen Hurts, but that dude is a gamer, and he wins and he makes the right plays. I don't think he's the best quarterback in the league. I don't even know if he's top 10, but he's a winner, and he's been a winner everywhere that he's gone. So I honestly, as much as I don't necessarily care for Philly, I am super interested to see if they're going to make this run again. And I do think that they're going to. I think
welcome back. Welcome back. I've been saying this for weeks, dude.
I think it's going to be Seattle and Philly in the NFC Championship. That's my call, because I'm a Bears hater, and I did call Seattle in the beginning of the season to
not be in the Super Bowl.
to make it to the playoffs. You didn't even think they make the playoffs.
I did. I really didn't.
I didn't think they'd be a 1 seed either. I'd be talking crap if I thought that they'd be there. But no, Philly's my NFC pick, and then the AFC, man, it's the Bills. I have to see if they're legit in the playoffs, and how worried I should be in approximately 7 days. So that's really what I but again, I would like to see New England too. Is Drake May really an MVP candidate? Is he everything that everybody's making him out to be? But no, it's Buffalo for me, man. They're my biggest concern. I think they're our biggest obstacle. So, and those teams have the two biggest playoff experience on both sides of the conferences. So, I want to see if they're legit and how we stack up as we prepare.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you, man. Buffalo it keeps me up at night. But one thing I will tell you, Sean, is if the Broncos lose to the Bills again, whether it be in the next round or in the championship round, whatever, right? We're going to be having this conversation, and they will do it. But the Broncos have built a team to beat the Chiefs, right? And they've done that. Now, if they can't figure out how to beat the Bills, they will build a team to beat the Bills. They will. Because they look at whatever their number one obstacle is, and they build a team to beat that, which they've accomplished that with the Chiefs. They'll have to accomplish that with the Bills, for sure. I don't think the Jaguars as much, just because the Bills the Broncos didn't play the Jaguars in the playoffs. But if they lose to the Jags twice too, that conversation comes into play a little bit as well. But we'll see, man. For me on the NFC side, I want to see if Carolina can beat the Rams. I don't think that they're as big of that they should be as big of an underdog as they are, dude. They already beat the Rams there and made the Rams look real bad defensively.
Yep.
So the difference is going to be which Bryce Young are we seeing, right? Are we seeing the one from that game, or are we seeing the one that, from the Tampa Bay game? Granted, it was raining out there, but still, he has these moments where he looks pretty good. Him and McMillan are like a 1-2 combo that you can get behind. They have to run the football in this game, though. They haven't been running the football well for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks now, and that was their calling card in the middle of the season. Their defense is not very good. I think they either need to control the clock or they're going to get in a shootout. And I'm not saying they're going to beat the Rams, because I do think we're probably going to see the Rams and the Seahawks. But I'm interested in that game. I don't think the 49ers can hang with the playoff Eagles, dude. I'm with you. I've been saying this for weeks. The Eagles, dude, when they get in the playoffs, they're a different animal. They're just kind of like the Dodgers in the regular season. They're like, okay, can we get through this? And then let's get to the real stuff, I wouldn't want to see that team if I was on the NFC side at all. And I am with you. I do think it'll be Philly and Seattle in the NFC. Philly's going to have to do a little revenge tour of their own, because they're going to have to beat the Rams and the Seahawks, or excuse me, the Rams and the Bears to get to that game. But we'll see. The Bears embarrassed them on Black Friday. You remember that? And they did whatever they wanted against them that day. And I don't think it would be the same story in the playoffs, but we'll see. Yeah. On the AFC side, dude, I'm watching all of them. I'm watching all of them because I want to know what we're dealing with. What if Pittsburgh comes out and just routs Houston, dude? Like, what if though? Yeah. Wouldn't that change your mind a little bit?
I mean, if it's a high scoring thing against that defense, then you have to take that into account, because we're similarly built. We have the number one corner in the NFL. Well, they probably have number two. They have a pass rush with Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter. I don't want to say we're the same team, but there's components of the teams that are
pretty much
similar.
Pretty much the same team.
You see Aaron Rodgers hang 30 on Houston, and you might take another look at it. I just don't think they have the weapons, man. I just don't. I think Stingley takes away DK just like Pat would. Their safeties are dangerous just like ours. Petrie flies around just like Hufanga does. So, I think that there's a lot of similarities. I don't see it, man. If they got into the double digits, I think I'd be shocked. I just don't think Pittsburgh has it unless there's a weather type thing that changes the landscape of that game. I just don't think it's going to happen, man.
Fair enough. I want to see. I don't know if it's a vindication thing with the Chargers with you when it comes to me watching that game, but I do want to see what those guys are made of, and I want to see what Drake May's made of because he hasn't seen a defense like this year, to my knowledge, anyway. I mean, Buffalo's a good defense, but they're not this. They're not the Chargers. The Chargers are, like I said, opportunistic. They take the ball away. They can rush the quarterback. They can stop the run. They are just a really, really good defense. And defense travels, like we talked about, just like the Texans defense should travel, but should it not? I think Aaron Rodgers has the advantage over CJ Stroud in that game. And then, the Bills and the Jags, I don't understand how that's not on Monday Night Football or how that's not the number one matchup of the weekend. I don't understand how that's in an 11 o'clock time slot on Sunday. I think it's the best matchup. I think it'll be the best game. I don't think the Bills are going to win that game, though. Thankfully, I don't think they will because the Jaguars are the number one defense against the run this year. And that's what the Bills do, right? That's what they do best. And so, I mean, Jacksonville's just absolutely on fire too, dude. I don't know. I just don't see it. I see Jacksonville winning that game and then us playing either the Steelers, the Texans, or the Chargers. I don't know, man. I don't trust the Bills that's a bad, just like the Bills are a bad matchup for us, the Jaguars are a really bad matchup for the Bills.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, it's rookie head coach and first playoff game quarterback, and I just think that it's a different brand of football, and I don't know that they're ready for that moment. And I agree with you; they are playing great. They're right, they're hot, but you're talking about the most experienced team in the AFC from top to bottom. Obviously Aaron Rodgers has been there and done that for the Steelers, but as far as like full roster and have been through it, that's Buffalo. That's Josh Allen. That's McDermott. They've been there. They've won those games. They've lost those games. Jacksonville has done nothing but lose games since Fred Taylor and Mark Brunell were there. So, I agree with you on what they've done. I just think when the playoffs turn on, some people crap in their helmet, dude. And I feel like the Bills are going to run over some people that are probably better than them. I do think we're better than them. We're harping on the Bills a lot. I do think we're a better football team. But sometimes, man, the right quarterback and the right team,
wrong matchup.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Broncos were supposed to play the Vikings in the Super Bowl that year. And
then they would have got killed.
Randy Moss and Dante Culpepper just didn't make it. And sometimes the better team just doesn't win. And so that's what concerns me about Buffalo, man, is I know Josh Allen doesn't have the resume that John did when he got to that point and he won that Super Bowl, but he has a resume that is Hall of Fame trajectory. And he's got an opportunity to maybe get the only Super Bowl he's ever going to have a chance to get. And that's dangerous, man. It just is.
Or maybe he's Dan Marino and he just doesn't win whenever.
Or Jim Kelly. I mean, he's got the same helmet on.
Yeah. Well, sorry, I forget about Jim Kelly, but anyway, yeah.
Look, man, you win a Super Bowl in Buffalo, he is a god forever.
Oh yeah. 100%. I don't think they would win if they got there, but they're playing Philly or Seattle, and
yeah.
I mean, if we saw Seattle in the Super Bowl, it would be. I mean, we would have we would have a challenge on our hands, dude. That defense is not a joke. Like we
owe them one, though. We owe them one. We better not lose 2 Super Bowls to them.
Oh, it's true. Well, that would. Yeah, we'd never hear the end of that, would we?
No.
And as a Mariners fan, I'm always around like Seahawk fans and stuff, and it's just like, oh God, stop talking about that game. But Sean, let's break it down real quick, dude. Who are the Broncos going to play next week? And who is going to be the other matchup?
It's going to be Denver, Buffalo, and it's going to be New England and Houston.
Wow. Okay. And then obviously on the NFC side, you've got Philly beating San Francisco and the Rams beating the Panthers, right?
Yep.
So then you've got the Rams at the Seahawks and the Eagles at the Bears, right?
Yep. That's Eagles, Seattle all day long.
All right. So then putting you on the spot, Broncos, Bills, and Patriots, Texans. Who's going to the AFC Championship game? Hey, don't be afraid to hurt feelings here. This is a truthful answer.
Broncos in Houston.
Okay. And in the NFC, then you've got the Seahawks and the Eagles, like we talked about.
I do.
But we didn't talk about Seahawks and Eagles, who wins and goes to the Super Bowl.
I think it's Philly, man. I don't know if Sam can do it. I just don't. I mean, the defense is great. Philly's been there. Man, it's going to be such a good game, though.
That would be an amazing game, dude.
It's going to be such a good game, dude. But I think Philly would pull it out. I think it would be Denver and Philly if it goes the way we've shook it up. I think it's going to be Denver and Philly.
Denver and Philly. Okay. I think you did change my mind on the Bills. I think that the playoff experience will shine through. The coaching experience will shine through. Liam Cohen is an up-and-comer, though. He's no joke, and he's going to have a lot to say in the next few years. I'm going to go with the Chargers at the Broncos and the Bills at the Patriots. And then I'm going to go – yep, and then I'm going to go Seahawks, Rams, Eagles, Bears. And then I'm going to go with the Eagles and the Seahawks as well. I don't think that the Bears defense, unless they're taking the ball away, their defense isn't very good. So they're very opportunistic, and I would hate for my prediction to be wrong, but I think it will be. And then, man, if there's a team that's going to go into Seattle and win a game, it's going to be them.
Yeah.
It's going to be the Eagles. All right. And then on the AFC side, we've got Denver and the Chargers and Bills and the Patriots. Well, I think we end up seeing the damn Bills either way, because I think they beat I had the Chargers losing or beating the Patriots. So it would be Bills Texans.
Damn, sorry. Houston gets a home game from the 5 seed.
4 seed, but yeah.
No, the Steelers are the 4.
Oh, you're right.
The Texans are a wild card.
You're right. Okay. So anyway, that is a house of horrors for the Bills. They don't play good there at all. Josh Allen, his very first playoff game there, you remember, was a nightmare. So I think that Houston will get the best of them again. It's, again, a matchup thing, right? And the Broncos will beat the Chargers. Will it be painful and nerve-wracking? Yes, it will be. Will the Broncos win something like, I don't know, 21-19? Probably. Yeah. And on a last-second field goal? Yes, 100%. So then you've got the Broncos and the Bills and the Eagles and the Seahawks. Dude, So the Broncos are a flawed football team, right? But the Bills are also a flawed football team.
Yeah.
The difference here is that Josh Allen is Josh Allen. And unfortunately, that would shine through, and I think the Bills would beat the Broncos. So then you'd have a rematch of the Bills against the Eagles in the Super Bowl, unfortunately, in Santa Clara. But I hope I'm wrong. People, because I obviously want the Broncos to go to the Super Bowl more than almost anything in the world. One game at a time, though. So we'll be back next week, Sean.
Yep.
Sean made it through the episode. Everyone give him a round of applause. He didn't die.
Still got power, man.
Power didn't go out. We're good. We're good. He's got to get to bed, though. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this episode of Bronc Bros. Make sure to follow me at Adam Knows Ball. Follow us at Bronc Bros _. Listen to us wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts on YouTube, Spotify. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share all of our great content as well. Thank you for spending time with us. And we look very much forward, Sean, to talking about who the actual opponent is going to be this coming week. No matter who it is, the Broncos can beat them. If it's the Bills, I literally just said that the Broncos won't beat them. So we may not have much of a show, but hopefully, Sean, hopefully it won't be the Bills.
Yeah, let's go watch some football, man. I'm ready.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right. NFL playoffs are here. Enjoy the games this weekend. We'll be back with you next week. And as always, go Broncos.
Go Broncos, my friend.